in Baltimore. You know, the riots in Baltimore. Now, at a grassy plaza across from Baltimore City Hall. By the way, if you didn't notice, because I don't think it was announced with huge fanfare, but the city did finally lift the curfew yesterday. See, I told you they were going to go the full time that they implemented, because they said no later than May 4th would they drop the curfew. And I told you that, they might as well just said that the curfew will be dropped on May 4th. Because they weren't going to have it any sooner than that, even if the streets were quiet. And you have to ask, well, if you had, 3,000 policemen in National Guardsmen on patrolling the streets of Baltimore, why couldn't you have lifted the curfew sooner? Well, that's a whole different story. But anyway, this is from CBS DC, CBS News. Yes, that's CBS News. At a grassy plaza across from Baltimore City Hall, filled with thousands of people on Saturday, speakers praised the city's young top prosecutor for quickly moving forward with charges against the police officers they see as responsible for the death of the 25-year-old black man who suffered a fatal spinal injury in their custody. It doesn't matter, if those charges can actually bear out, if there is any evidence that could possibly meet the level of the charges, which right now there isn't enough evidence or any evidence that will meet the criteria for the charges that she has dropped on these 6 police officers. There isn't any. Plain and simple. Look, it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be or there can't be. Yes, there could be. But you do not bring charges before you have the evidence to back them up. Because what if the evidence just isn't there? Well, those are false charges. Now, we fully understand why this young African-American woman did this, is to placate the people in Baltimore, the young people in Baltimore, and stop them from looting. Because after she announced the charges, they were kind of dancing in the street. Everybody was excited. Yay, yay, yay. We're going to get some justice now. We're going to get justice. Yay, yay. No, you're not. You're being played by the left again. I mean, let's just call a spade here. Yeah, pun intended, by the way. Well, I can, because I can. Because I'm black. So I can do that. But let's just call a spade. Now, if you are an African American listening to this program, and you know what? I'm going to tell you to go out and find, especially if you're in Baltimore, go out and find a young person or somebody, another African American, and get them to listen to this show right now. Because I'm about to lay down some truth for you. I mean, this is going to be some powerful stuff. So you better pay attention, and you need to get them to pay attention. Now, you are being played. Plain and simple. Because one, you've got an African American black female prosecutor, young. I don't even think she's like 30. Age, well, yeah, age does matter. It's called experience. And she obviously, I don't care how learned she is. You can be one of the brightest people on the planet. It doesn't matter. Experience has a lot to do with how you perform your job. You can be a brilliant doctor right out of med school. Just getting out of, completed your residency, right out of residency. Now, you can be a brilliant neurosurgeon with a brilliant career ahead of you. But you know what? You don't have any experience. So even though you have the knowledge, you do not know how to put that knowledge to actual practical use. This prosecutor, I'm afraid, really doesn't have the wisdom of how to put that knowledge that she's learned to practical, real world use. And this just shows it. Yeah, don't jump out there ahead of the game. And look, she wouldn't be able to do this if the district attorney did not give her the go-ahead. And he gave her the go-ahead because why? Because he wanted to play. He wanted to play y'all, to put it in urban vernacular. So you're being played. Because y'all are jumping up and down, hooting and hollering, having a good time after she made the announcement that she's giving announcing these charges to these 6 police officers. None of those charges of which, if you actually read what the charge is and what it takes to convict a person of that particular charge, you would know that currently there is no evidence whatsoever that would ever meet the level that those charges demand. And even if they were convicted before a jury of their peers, just because they wanted to save the city from turmoil again, tumult, it is going to be instantly reversed either by a judge or on appeal, because there is no evidence to meet the level of the charges. Let me give you an example. If you're charged with, let's just be simple. You're charged with speeding. You're charged with speeding 20 miles over the speed limit. Now, here's what happens. You're in your driveway, and you came back from the grocery store. You're in your driveway, and you've been in your driveway for about 5 minutes. Cop pulls up, hands you a speeding ticket for doing 20 miles over the speed limit. And it shows, the street that you were on, that you were doing 20 miles over the speed limit. Well, in order for your charge to be accurate, in order for your conviction to meet the level of the charge, the cop has to prove, there has to be evidence that you were actually on that street. Now, obviously, you're sitting in your driveway, so cop isn't pulling you over on that particular street. You're in your driveway. He showed up 5 minutes after you got in your driveway. Well, the cop has to have the evidence. In order for him to have the evidence, he's got to be there. So there has to be this evidence that proves and shows, at least, beyond a reasonable doubt, to a jury or to a judge, that you were actually on that street doing 20 miles over the speed limit. Just because a cop says it doesn't mean that it's accurate, or that a judge or jury will believe it, or that there's evidence of it, because there's got to be some evidence. And there isn't any. So you're being falsely accused of something by a police officer that you did not do. Maybe you weren't even on the street in question, but it doesn't matter. So now you got to take the time to go and defend yourself in court. Now, see, here's the problem with political prosecution. These cops are being politically prosecuted because it's expedient, and they're being used to play the black Americans because you're being placated. And sure, everybody wants you to calm down. They don't want you rip-roaring and destroying the city, but you're being played because you have the mayor out there saying, we're going to give you the room to destroy. Whether she meant to say that in those words or not is irrelevant. She said them. And then instead of her coming back and saying, I apologize, I think I misspoke or you misunderstood what I meant, let me explain, she went out there and tried to deny that she said it. What she should have did is says, what, I heard the playback. That's not what I meant to say. I apologize. And this is what I meant to say, and this is what I mean. No, that's what an honest person would do. But no, she's in the game too, trying to play you. So now she's out there saying, well, no, I didn't say that. I don't know what's wrong with you white reporters saying that I said something I didn't say. Oh yeah, she's throwing out that race card too. Don't doubt me. She's playing you. The prosecutor is playing you. Obama is playing you. You're being played. Because there is nothing happening right now in this country's inner cities that are ruled by Democrats. Notice I said ruled and not run or governed. I said ruled because they have been controlling certain city politics for decades. And every time that you guys, you African Americans want to complain about your plight, about what's going down in the city, what's wrong in the city, You want to blame Republicans. Well, Republicans haven't been in charge of these places for decades. It is the Democrat who's been in charge. And they keep telling you that, oh, it's that evil, rich Republican over there, that old white man. You're being played. Because while they're telling you that somebody else is responsible for your plight, they're secretly keeping you back from moving on. You know, you're told, well, you don't have an education. Yeah, well, because the schools suck because those Republicans won't give us any money. Oh, really? So the fact that, you know, our cities in this country spend more per child or per student on education every year than many countries spend all year. I mean, what was it? $13,000 per student was a tally in Washington, D.C., and it's the worst performing school district in the nation. And it's been run by Democrats for decades, but somehow it's the old rich white Republicans' fault because there's not enough money in the D.C. school district. Hello? You're being played. McFly, wake up. You're being played. When they're telling you that they're going to prosecute or bring down these charges for these 6 police officers, you're being played because there is no evidence. It is not going to go to court to trial, plain and simple, because a good defense attorney is going to get each and every one of those charges dismissed because they're going to go to a judge and say, Judge, where's the evidence for this? There's not a shred of evidence. That could the prosecution has no hope of proving beyond a reasonable doubt any of these charges. Judge is going to look at it and say, well, yeah, that's pretty much true. You're being played. You know, you're gonna say, well, you know, the rich white guy. Look, I heard something. This is how bad it is. This is how bad it is. New York City. New York City has got a bunch of new towers going. I mean, there's a construction boom going that's been going on for like 5 or 6 years now in New York City. The sky's the limit, but really it is. You know, ever since the Freedom Tower started to go up and things like that, there's been a construction boom in New York City, and everybody wants to, everybody wants to outdo everybody else who's building a tower. And there are a lot of residential towers. A lot of these are not office towers; they're residential towers. You know, where people actually live. And now, you know, we're getting some people saying, well, you know what? We got all these rich people buying these, you know, apartments in these towers. Yet they keep putting up, making taller and taller. And all the middle America people, all the average people, all the middle class people, well, you know, these towers are blocking the sun on them. So, you know, all these people are being shaded. You know, they're not getting any sun. Well, one, you're living in a major city with towers everywhere. I don't know what they have to complain about on that. They knew that that's going to happen, possibility, but they keep saying, you know, it's all these rich people, and they're trying to make it sound like that it's a bunch of white rich people who are building these things and buying these multi-million-dollar apartments in these high rises. The problem with that is that's not necessarily true. I mean, you got very wealthy minorities like, you know, Beyonce and Jay-Z buying expensive apartments in New York City. You've got like the Chinese and Japanese still buying a lot. You got Arabs buying a lot of these things. You got a lot of, you know, there's even Latinos that are buying some of these things. So it's not, you're being played. Every time a liberal Democrat opens their mouth and starts blaming somebody else for your plight, understand you're being played. Plain and simple, because they don't want you to know. Because if you knew and believed the truth, you wouldn't be voting for them time after time after time again. You would have voted them out of office long ago and never let them back in office. So what you got to do, if you want to be a smart brother or sister or a smart American, period, is
Hi, I'm George
You
Foreman.
just got to stop being played, plain and simple.